Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Lance, and I am with Team No Stigmas. And today we are having a little chat all about advocacy in art. I'm super, super excited to welcome another member of our No Stigmas family. She is an incredible author and illustrator, and she's going to tell us a little bit about how art helps her in her life. Please help me welcome Dora.
Hi, Lance. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here today and chat with you about this.
I'm super excited to have you.
Hey.
Today is actually International Artist Day.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah. So there's always so much sadness and doom and gloom sometimes. So I wanted to sort of celebrate how art can heal and how art can help us. So I'm really, really
Exactly.
excited to talk with you today.
I love this topic. So, yeah.
Great. Okay, so today we're going to chat a little bit about art, and Dora is going to show us some of her amazing work. So as we go through the kind of chat today, we'll sort of be popping things up and off the screen. So Dora, to get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe a little bit more about your background with art and mental health? Let's just get into it.
All right. Yeah. So I think the big thing to know about my background is I grew up in this very small town, and I grew up even outside of town. So there was no neighborhood, there's no neighborhood kids. So I grew up pretty isolated, and just books and writing and drawing were just like so important to me. And they were just, my escape and my friends. So yeah, so that just became like really important to me. And then, with time, writing and drawing my own stories and artwork and stuff just became more and more important to me. And I didn't realize it at the time as a little kid, but I was struggling with anxiety from a pretty young age. And so that, without knowing it, I was really helping. It was a form of therapy for me, was my writing and drawing. And then as I got older, like into the teenage years, then, got some depression added in on top of the anxiety, like I'm sure so many of us do, because they do kind of go hand in hand. So, but yeah, it took me years to realize that those were the issues that I was struggling with. But and then eventually, I've gotten counseling and gotten help over the years. But for many years, and still, art has just always been like, well, it's a lot cheaper and easier to access than therapy.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. That was really like a great kind of encapsulation. Is that a word?
Yeah, that's a word.
Of kind of why we're talking about this today. That's awesome. Okay, so I guess we'll throw up some art and then we'll chat. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question when we kind of dive in is, what do you think your take is on the relationship between art in pretty much any form and mental health?
Yeah. Well, I'm a huge believer in using art as a therapeutic outlet. So that's the cover of my first children's book. It's a children's mystery. And which it has a lot to do with like the way I grew up. Like it's all about having, this kind of oddball childhood and like how you fit in with others, and how much do you try to fit with others, and how much do you just be yourself, even if that kind of makes you a little bit of an oddball. And so I think that working with kids really shaped my attitude a lot towards art and creativity as a form of therapy. I was a children's librarian for years, and so I got to see how kids just, I think almost every kid starts out with this love of creating and drawing and painting and making up their own stories, or just, singing, dancing, whatever it is. Kids just have that innate like ability to express themselves. And then you start getting that worry about, am I good at this? That starts creeping in, and it kind of, takes a little bit of the fun and joy out of it. And so I think just seeing that has made me realize how much we all can really benefit from getting back to being able to, enjoy creating, you know?
Just create. Yeah,
Yeah, just
totally.
create. Don't worry, you don't have to
No.
be good. It's not about being good at it, you know?
Right. No, that actually just reminded me of a quote. And I think he probably said some version of a quote from someone else. But whenever Ben Platt said in his like Tony acceptance speech a few years back, after he won for Dear Evan Hansen, he said something like, what makes you different makes you powerful. I'm paraphrasing, but something about what makes you different makes you powerful. So it
Right.
sounds like for you and what was inspiring to you is like finding the power in being different and finding that strength.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And I
that's
think
awesome.
that's what it comes down to too, is learning to accept that, well, you're gonna be different. We're all different. And, you know,
So you kind of mentioned it before when you sort of told us a little bit about yourself, but like, can you tell us something any more about how art through your life, like throughout growing up, has sort of um, helped you to sort of advocate for yourself in your mental health?
yeah. Well, it's what I've gone back to always. You know, I might move away from it for a little while, but I always come back to writing and drawing. You know, when I'm tired, when I'm stressed, when I'm anxious, whatever it is. That's the cover of one of my comics. I have a couple of web comics. One of them is The Curse of Crooked Mile. And I've also put out a print version of the first few issues of that. So that's the cover of one of the printed comics. And yeah, so obviously I do a lot of art because I have two web comics, I write books, and it just I think I finally realized what it is about it that's so therapeutic is, you know, we all talk about like being in the moment, and it's such an important part of
Mm,
therapy and an important part of dealing with so many mental health issues is learning to be present. And you work on it through meditation, and you know there's so many ways to try to work on that. But for me, art, and I think for a lot of people, creativity is this shortcut to being in the present. You know, like you're working with your hands, there's the paper, or you know whatever you're using, whatever tools you're using, you might be dancing or singing or knitting or whatever, but it really makes you be in the present moment. And I feel like it's a shortcut to like what I could learn through years of meditating and learning to be good at meditating. Like art is my magic shortcut to, okay,
I
I'm
love that. I
moment
love that. I
present.
love that it's your shortcut. Like, just get to the. It's kind of funny because you have to. It's like when you're washing the dishes. You have to think about holding on because if you
You
don't, you'll drop
yes,
it. So you're just like, if I
exactly.
do something, I'm like reminded to come back. That's
Exactly.
that's such a good way to talk about it. So how do you deal with days that are maybe like overwhelming or frustrating or tough? Like what helps you bounce back? And I guess we're talking about art today, so like what is it? um I guess let me throw up an example. Like when you do something like this, like
Right.
how does she help you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, that's a perfect piece to pull up for this, because so for me, I'm in this position where since I do artwork for part of my income, it can become like there are days where my stress and my overwhelm and stuff are because of my art career. You know, I'm stuck on a story or something's not going right. So sometimes it takes a little thought to figure out how art can continue to be therapeutic for me when I'm also doing it as a job. Um, so what I've tried to do is make space for myself to create, again, like we talked about, and just have fun. And it's not about making a finished product, and it's not about satisfying anybody. It's just about making something. So like this one was just a one-off. I'm just going to sit down and like start painting something, and it's not going to be for a long-term project. It's just going to be to make something. This happens to be an illustration for one of my favorite children's book series, the Chronicles of Predain, which are just excellent books. I can't recommend them enough. So that's what I do is, you know, just do something that's purely for fun and enjoyment. And I mean, it could literally be grab some Play-Doh. It's just like
Hmm.
do something fun with your hands and get your mind cleared, you know?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Did when you I mean, I can't help notice that she looks a little like you. Did you
I had an art teacher who said that happens with everyone's artwork, that everything's a little bit of a self-portrait.
I
And
mean, let's look at a side by side. Let's.
Okay, so I need to be going this way. I need to be like nobly guiding someone out of the dark castle. I don't see it, but if you say so. But I do think, because you're so familiar with your own face and your facial structure makes sense to you, I think that sometimes you do accidentally like make a lot of characters look like yourself. And artists talk about having same face syndrome with their characters. So it's something you have to watch out for. It's not,
Oh my gosh, I've
not
never
everyone
heard
should
that.
look like you, Dora.
Well, I don't think everyone looks like you.
There we go. I don't know. I see some square faces in there. I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, so tell us about this piece. Like, what is the story?
So my artwork, like a lot of my artwork, does tend to have a slightly darker, creepier undertone. I really like mystery. I really like suspense.
Yeah.
Sometimes my work gets called horror, but it's not really horror. Like, what I like to explore is dread.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good word.
As an anxious person, like, is it surprising that I like to explore the feeling of dread?
Well, how do you know how to deal with it if you don't explore it?
Yeah,
You have to.
Yeah, you got to get it out and look at it, and just
That is so
take
funny.
it head on. So I really enjoy having a little bit of a darker edge to things. And also, one thing you might notice, there's a lot of little bitty cross-hatching lines.
Yeah.
That's part of what's so therapeutic for me. I started doing this kind of pen and ink, really detailed artwork when I was a teenager, when the depression really started creeping in and the anxiety was getting pretty bad, and I still had no idea. Like, I was having panic attacks and stuff, and I had no idea what any of it was or how to even ask for help. And one of the things that was super therapeutic was just doing these super intricate drawings that took hours. And I realize now, because that's how I was grounding myself,
Exactly. That's such a good.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a good way to think about it. I didn't even think about that, grounding, like how the art can ground you. So what would you say? I mean, you kind of mentioned it before when you were a child, when you were growing up and you were younger, but what would you say to young artists or young people who maybe either have an outlet already or who don't? I mean, what would you say to them if they were listening?
It's funny. I come at this from kind of a funny perspective. And it might seem odd, but I've known so many artists, especially younger artists, who honestly worry that, well, they think that they have to be unhappy to be an artist. They think that there's an element of being the tortured artist. Like, we have this whole cliche in society about artists are unhappy, artists suffer, art is suffering. I've honestly known a lot of young artists who worry that if they heal, if they deal with their mental traumas, if they ask for help, they might lose some creativity and they might not be able to tap into their creativity.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good thing to mention.
It's, you will be creative. Take it from me. You can get help. You can heal.
Right?
You can address your mental health concerns. You can get medication. A lot of artists I know worry about medication and creativity and think that there's some connection where, yeah, if I medicate myself, I'm not going to be creative. No. You'll be fine. You will still be creative.
I do get that though, because if it's like, like if I'm very excited about Adele's new album.
Yes.
And it's like when when we all listen to Adele, like we all cry a little bit, our heart breaks a little bit. But then you watch her and she's giving interviews and she's like, hello. And it's just, she uses her, she describes it like she uses that is like a cathartic experience in her art, but then that's just a snapshot. Like she doesn't live like that every day all the time.
Exactly. No one can.
Yeah. I get that though. I get that.
Right.
So before I let you go, many of our community are already allies and they are already advocates for those in their lives or for themselves. how would you say, what would you tell the people who are watching who maybe say, oh, I don't have a mental illness, like I'm good, but my spouse does, my brother does, my sister, my mom. Like, what would you say to those people who are watching their loved ones maybe not be their most
Yeah.
like their fullest selves? Like, what would you say to them?
Yeah, it's hard. It's always hard to know how to help people. I've had that happen with a lot of family members that, you worry about and you wonder, do they need help? Are they getting the help that they need? And I think we all need to learn to be okay with opening up the conversation and, reaching out and trying to let them know that you are concerned. It's easy to feel kind of hesitant about saying, is everything okay? But it's all right to ask, and it's all right to bring up, like we all kind of worry about like bringing up the possibility of self-harm, but it's okay to bring it up and be honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that it helps a lot if you can open up and be open about any struggles, any similar mental health struggles that you can share, because once you start the sharing, it's a lot easier for them to open up. Like
Right.
if you just say, are you okay? And you're kind of on the outside, right?
Right.
It's not
Right.
always easy for someone to open up and be the first one to open up. So if you can share
Exactly.
something, that you can relate, to
Oh my
open the
gosh.
conversation.
I'm that person. I'm on the inside. I'm like, go away. I'm okay. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Don't ask me. I'm okay.
Yeah. I
But
can be that person too. I work on being open, but a lot of times I feel like, oh, you can tell something's wrong. I don't like that. I like to be behind my wall.
right? That's what I'm saying. Like, I want to hide behind this cloak, and if
Yeah,
you are onto me, then I'm
absolutely.
like, oh, I failed at hiding my pain, instead of leaning or opening up to people who are around you.
It's hard.
That
Yeah.
that is really, really hard. And I think back to for me, a lot of the wall manifested as, angsty, angry,
Hmm.
late teen, early adult type
Hmm.
stuff. And it was always like pushing my loved ones away. And I remember my mom used to say, well, she would always say like charity begins at home. So like before you start giving to the world, like give to the people that live with you. And
Right.
then she would sometimes, when she'd get mad with me, she'd say like, you treat strangers better than you treat me.
Oh my gosh.
And it wasn't true, but I think it was because I was manifesting that wall, because I
Yeah.
wasn't able to, I guess, be open or
Yeah.
not be guarded and to be defensive. And so, yeah, I mean, I think pushing are you okay? Like from an
Hmm.
authentic, like open,
Yes.
that's totally okay. And it may take multiple times for someone to get it. I know
That's true.
that was
That's
me.
Yeah, exactly. And
That was
it's hard to
me.
be you don't want to be the vulnerable one and the other person's
No,
in the position of strength. So if you can come at it from that you're
exactly.
vulnerable too,
I know. Which I think that might be what it is, because I noticed a lot of my family were just very, it just felt like I was the only one that didn't always have it together, So I think like
Yeah.
looking at
Mhm.
people who you think have it together better than you makes you a little
Right.
defensive.
Right.
Can you tell us about this guy? What's the story
So
with him?
this is another one of my little one-offs where it's just like I just want to make something quick and fun. And you notice the line work again. I don't remember what I was working through when I made this guy, but undoubtedly I needed to ground myself with a lot of teeny little lines.
I
This is
mean,
actually a character from another awesome series of children's books, the Moomin books. So this is the poor lonely Groke. She just roams the countryside all alone. So I guess I was probably thinking about loneliness.
oh no, no, I'm like looking at this sky behind it, like how the concentric circles are still circles, but they're also little lines. Like
Yeah, I
that's
love doing
incredible.
that. And it's like those mandalas that people do a lot now.
Yes.
Yeah, those kind of repetitive designs, it really is. It's a great therapy outlet. So I'm a huge, huge bunny person. I've always had house rabbits, and and I just love drawing them. They are just the funniest, most interesting animals, and they have like this sense of dignity about them. They are just so this was just another one where I just wanted to do something quick and fun and get the watercolor paints out. And because I do tend to do a lot of really tightly controlled artwork,
Yeah.
watercolor is always fun for me because, you know, it forces me to let go and be more loose and playful and just let the paint do its thing. So yeah, so there wasn't too much behind it, except I want to draw a bunny. I wanted to be doing something unexpected, and then let's just let
That's
some paint
awesome.
flow around.
That is awesome. I was just going to ask you, it reminded me of, you were talking about being a children's librarian.
Yes.
But so have you ever felt when you were a librarian, did you ever feel like opportunities to be an advocate for any young people that you came into contact with? Or if you did, like, what did that look like? Did you ever have any
Yeah,
of
definitely.
those
You know,
moments?
one of the ways that I tried to advocate the most for kids, because yeah, you would see some very stressful situations and some of those family dynamics and stuff. Um, and one of the things that came up the most often that I felt like was a role that I could fill as an advocate was when we'd be doing creative projects and you'd see either the kids putting pressure on themselves, like,
Mm,
I'm not good at this. I don't want to do that. I'm not good at it. Or sometimes, unfortunately, even, you know, the parents or grandparents would be there kind of going, no, not like that. You know, yeah,
oh no.
that would just
Mm,
break my heart. So that was one of the ways that I found it was a chance to be an advocate, was to sort of be there to say, like, everything is okay. Whatever your art looks like is perfect. And
mhm.
it's not about creating a specific, it's not supposed to look like my example. It's whatever it looks like is fine. So yeah, it was a wonderful chance to sort of
Mhm.
try to bring some
That
positivity to
I
people.
know, that just made me
People.
feel like I had the feels. No, I was gonna say, because that, and then when you saying that makes me think back to when, I was in elementary school or middle school, and because in middle school I really started to get more into like being in band and doing
Yeah,
music.
yeah.
But in elementary school, we all had to take art class, and I just remember the art teacher, exactly what you just said, like being the only person, I felt like the only person that was telling us there were no limits, there were no
Yes,
rules, there weren't, like, that was,
exactly.
which was kind of like counterintuitive to like school. um
Mhm,
but
mhm.
was there anyone in your life, like either, as a child or growing up, that you felt was that for you? Like, did you ever feel like there was even a teacher that you felt that
Oh,
you could connect with? I mean, was there anybody that you saw, like, did your art teachers ever kind of
oh my
advocate for
gosh.
you? And
I had, you know, I think that's the upside of the small town thing is everyone in the town was like cheering me on. I mean, it was a really great town to grow up in that way. Like it has a really vibrant arts community and it's just a really supportive community. So I had, you know, a slew of art teachers that were like, no, you're awesome. And I'd be feeling like, oh, I'm terrible at this. And they'd be cheering me on. I had store owners who would be like, when I was just a little teenager, they'd be like, why don't you come and paint something for us? And it was just like,
oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
it was a very supportive town. So I just have like more people than I could even name who cheered me on and advocated for me.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
That's
Go
awesome.
Quincy, California. It's a good little town.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Before I let you go, I wanted to show one last piece.
Yeah, I was
Um,
hoping you were gonna bring this one up.
yeah, if I can. And before we sign off, if you want to tell us about this piece a little bit.
Yeah, so that is a piece for my other webcomic. This one I haven't put out a print version yet, but eventually there will be a print version. So I make like, you know, pieces to promote it and stuff. So this is a cover design for it. But yeah, so this is online. And it's kind of aimed at like more YA than my other
Hmm.
stuff, which is more like middle grade. Um, and it's obviously another like spooky mystery thing, kind of a little bit on the darker side.
What are you talking about? It's
you know,
It's rainbows.
and yeah, and kind of the small town thing, maybe not as much of a supportive, lovely small town.
Oh, does it take place? Is
It
that what
takes
we're?
place in a small town. The
Okay.
girl, the main character, moves to a very strange small town and starts like kind of suspecting that the townsfolk are up to something not so nice out in the woods.
So I mean, you're a published author in the, like, you're writing the stories that you're illustrating. You're not
Yes,
just
yeah,
illustrating, I'm sure there have been times where you have illustrated for authors or for
right,
writers, but you're
right.
actually creating. So you're really like the captain of your own ship. Like you're able
It
to,
it
you're
is. It's
crafting the
fun.
narratives and then you're bringing
Yes.
them to life. That's incredible.
It is. It's really rewarding. It's fun to write and illustrate. The first book we talked about, The Haunted Serpent, that one was published, and I had an editor and like had to have everything like go through multiple people, and which is awesome too, because it's nice to have somebody else find your mistakes or like say, oh, that doesn't make so much sense. But the comics I do entirely on my own and write and draw.
You are super talented.
Oh, thank you. I just
Like,
enjoy it. I just try to focus on enjoying it because I never, and I think most artists can probably relate.
yeah.
You never feel that great about your own stuff, but I just try to
Well,
enjoy it and hope
well,
other
yeah,
people are doing it.
but like you said, you're also sort of an entrepreneur, been a businesswoman. So
Yeah.
sometimes the business gets in the way of the art. So
Yes.
finding that balance, it's like work
Mhm.
life, when
Mhm.
work is art and life is art.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, Dora, that's our time. I really appreciate you talking with me. It was so nice to dive into your art and to celebrate your art and talk about advocacy. Can you let people know where they can find you online if they want to learn more about your work?
Yes, please. DoraMitchell.com. You can find me there and get, links to my webcomics. Or you can find me on Instagram. I'm Inky Beast on Instagram and Twitter. There's an underscore in one of them, but you'll find me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, very cool. Just for anyone who's watching, don't forget that if you want to learn more about No Stigmas, visit nostigmas.org so that you can learn how you can be an advocate and advocate for yourself and others that you love and that you want to make sure that they're living their fullest, best lives. And of course, like all good influencers, be sure to like, comment, share, follow, subscribe to these videos. And that way you don't miss anything, and we'll keep creating more and more conversations and content for you. Yeah, thank you again, Dora. Thank you so much. And I hope
Thank you for having me.
I hope to talk more about advocacy with you in the future.
Yeah.
All right.
You.
Thank you. Thank you, Dora. See you next time. Bye.
All right. Bye.